Hello, my dear family. It's so good to see you here again for another Bible study. How are you all doing? Today we're going to study a very well-known verse. I'd say it's the most famous one regarding God's sovereignty and man's dependence. It tells us that we can plan and execute, but it is God who gives the growth and true security. Do you want to understand more about this psalm? Then stay with us until the end, and let's dive into the study. Psalm 127 verse 1. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. Jerusalem was experiencing a time of profound transformation under the reign of Solomon, a period marked by grand constructions and a constant search for wisdom. This psalm, precisely attributed to Solomon, was born in a setting where the sound of tools striking stone and the constant movement of laborers were part of the sacred city's daily life. The Temple of Jerusalem was being erected, a work of immense magnitude, and the city walls were being fortified to ensure the protection of a people seeking stability. However, amidst all this physical effort, accumulated wealth and political prestige, the author takes a necessary pause to reflect on the true origin of any achievement. He perceives that the worker's sweat and the watchman's fatigue lose their meaning if the divine hand is not sustaining every brick and every night vigil. It is a teaching that confronts human pride, reminding us that outward progress is hollow if the interior is not governed by the Creator. The image of the house used in this text is not limited to four walls made of stone or wood. For the ancients, the house represented lineage, family, legacy, and a person's very life. Building a house meant establishing a name in history. Solomon, despite being the wisest man of his time, recognized that all his intelligence and resources would not be enough to maintain the dignity of his family or the peace of his kingdom if there were an attempt to act independently. The historical context shows us that kings often relied excessively on their armies and defenses, forgetting that security is, ultimately, a gift of grace. By writing these words, the psalmist is inviting the people to lower the guard of their ego and trust in the providence that never sleeps. Human labor is necessary and honored, but it must be a partnership with heaven, where man plants, but it is the high place that grants the rain and the sun for growth. The verse also mentions the figure of the watchman, that man who stayed in the watchtowers during the early hours, alert to any suspicious movement around Jerusalem. In those days, the safety of thousands of lives depended on the vision and alert of a few weary men. The text makes us feel the tension of that guard, but immediately afterward it brings profound relief. There is a greater watchman who protects the city. If divine protection is withdrawn, no matter how attentive human eyes may be, vulnerability will be inevitable. This teaches us that absolute control is an illusion that only generates anxiety and exhaustion. The message is one of conscious surrender. When we understand that we do not need to carry the world on our shoulders, our burden becomes light and our sleep becomes restorative, for we know that the structure of our existence is being cared for by the one who possesses the complete vision of all things. As we meditate on this context, we realize that our daily haste and the fatigue that often consumes us may be signs that we are trying to build alone. The invitation here is for a change of perspective, where our effort ceases to be a desperate struggle for survival and becomes an act of worship and service. When we allow the Creator to take on the role of architect, the pressures diminish. It is not about doing less, but about doing with the right purpose and under the right direction. Every project, every family decision, and every step toward the future gains a new firmness when we recognize that real security does not come from our savings or our locks, but from the constant presence that surrounds us and guides us through paths of peace. Now, before this truth that spans the centuries, I invite you to silence your heart for a moment. Let us set aside concerns about what still needs to be built, or the threats that surround us. Let us unite in one spirit to speak with the one who is the true guardian of our lives and the builder of our destiny. Prepare your heart, for we are now entering a moment of prayer, acknowledging our dependence and handing over the keys to our house and our history into the hands of the one who can truly sustain us with firmness and love. Lord, creator of all things and architect of our lives, we approach you at this moment with humble hearts and open minds. We acknowledge before your presence that many times we try to carry the weight of the world on our own shoulders, believing that our isolated effort, our exhaustive sweat, and our human strategies alone would be enough to guarantee the future of our home and the absolute safety of our family. Today, as we stop to meditate on your word, we understand that without your guiding hand, every brick we lay with such sacrifice and every night we spend in worried vigil lose their meaning and true purpose. We ask that the Lord take the center of every project we hold in our hands and in our hearts. May we not only seek fleeting sustenance in our daily work, but may every action of ours be transformed into a form of worship and honor to your name. Build, Lord, our homes from the inside out. Heal the emotional wounds that are sometimes hidden within the walls of our family life and bring the harmony that only your Spirit can provide in a deep and lasting way. May our trust not be placed in physical walls or iron locks, but in the certainty that the Lord is the guardian who never slumbers. I place in your hands my dreams, my concerns, and the destiny of everyone I love. May we find rest for our souls, knowing that while we work with dedication, the Lord takes care of the details that escape our control. May our life be a construction that reflects your glory, and may our dependence on you always be our greatest hope. Amen. We conclude this Bible study with this message of renewal and spiritual alignment, understanding that building our lives is not a burden we must carry alone. As a mentor in your Christian journey, I want you to visualize your life, your projects, and your family as a sacred construction site. Often, the exhaustion you feel at the end of the day does not come from the volume of work, but from the silent attempt to control variables that belong only to the Creator. Practical life demands that we be diligent, that we study, that we work, and that we take care of our own. But the wisdom of Psalm 127 teaches us the secret of lightness, the recognition that we are co-laborers with God. When you understand that He is the architect, your role becomes that of a builder following a perfect blueprint, rather than someone who needs to invent the path at every step in the midst of darkness. In practice, building the house with the Lord means bringing His presence into your simplest decisions. It is about asking, before starting a new venture or making a family decision, if that foundation is set on values that transcend time. When you put God at the center, your sweat ceases to be a symbol of anxiety and becomes a symbol of purpose. You begin to realize that the growth you seek so much is not the result of a desperate struggle, but of faithful sowing in blessed soil. The security that the world offers is fragile, based on circumstances that change like the wind, but the security that comes from above is a structure that stands firm before the storms of life. You can close your eyes at night and truly rest, because you know that while you recover, the guardian of your story remains attentive, taking care of what your hands cannot reach. To be motivated by divine sovereignty is to understand that real success is not measured only by what we build on the outside, but by the peace that dwells within our construction. If you feel that you have labored in vain, that the walls of your life seem unstable, perhaps it is time to return the tools to the Master's hands. Let Him dictate the pace. Let Him choose the materials. Starting tomorrow, face your responsibilities with a new spark in your eyes, knowing that you are not alone in watching over your city. Christian optimism is born from the certainty that the final result does not depend exclusively on our limited strength, but on the faithfulness of the one who promised to be with us every day. Live with the courage of someone who knows they are being sustained by a hand that does not fail, and that your future is being raised on a solid rock, where joy and fulfillment are the final touches of a work that He Himself began, and that He Himself will complete with excellence. We have reached the end, and my heart overflows with gratitude because you stayed until the very end. If this study touched your life, I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This small gesture is vital to increasing the reach of our message and helping us deliver hope to more people. Please comment Amen below so I know who the faithful ones are who stayed with us until the final moment. Also, share this video with someone who loves the Word, as this helps us strengthen our Bible study community. Your presence here is truly a gift to us all, and remember, God is always with you.